Hey, everybody, and welcome. We're just going to take one more minute, let some other attendees get in the room, and then we'll get started. Okay, well, let's kick it off. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Alison Accavitti. I'm a co-founder and the CMO at RIVET, and I'm excited to be hosting a presentation with two exciting partners, Trimble and RIVET. I'm joined by Trish O'Connor, sales engineer at Trimble, and Cedric Kennedy, solutions engineer at RIVET. RIVET is a workforce management platform that many Trimble, Spectrum, and Vista users integrate with for labor management. Next slide, please, Austin. Thank you. So, if you've managed a project, you know this isn't just theory. It's a reality on the ground. Labor accounts for 30 to 50% of total project costs. And for labor-intensive trades like MEP or drywall, it can be even higher. This means every decision you make about labor, who you assign, when, where, and for how long, has a direct impact on cost, schedule, and your outcomes. And it's not just cost. According to multiple industry reports, nearly every major source of risk in construction ties back to labor, whether it's delays or safety issues, blown budgets, or rework. It all comes down to a few key things: planning the workforce well, having the right crews available, maintaining productivity, managing labor costs, and making sure people are certified and trained for the work. So today, this is going to be a practical session focused on what it looks like when contractors put labor at the center of project planning and execution. Today, we're going to walk through what it looks like inside the Trimble Construction One Cloud, from estimating in Accubid to financials and operations in Spectrum or Vista, to field time collection in Traqspera, to workforce data in HR management. And we'll show you how integrating those tools with RIVET workforce management gives you something most contractors are missing: a real-time view of labor utilization. If you've ever had to make last-minute labor decisions based on stale data, this session is for you. So before we jump in, we're going to do a quick overview of both Trimble and RIVET. So I'll pass it to Trish and Cedric. How many times have I done that, guys? Trivet.
Perfect. Well, we are a partnership.
Yeah.
So Trimble Construction One is a connected construction suite, and we're connecting the field to the office. So our solutions simplify your technology stack, and we streamline your work. So this results in cost and time savings. Trimble has been a trusted partner to our many customers for well over 40 years.
Thank you. Next slide.
And overview of a RIVET. RIVET's a workforce management platform, helping contractors by consolidating the processes and activities that go into their labor planning and labor scheduling, providing contractors with clear and real-time visibility into their field labor, such as when crews are ramping up and down, how compression and delays potentially impact schedules, and enabling contractors to make real-time adjustments to their labor without relying on scattered spreadsheets and fragmented processes.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so whether you're a Spectrum or Vista user, a RIVET user, or you're just exploring options, these software workflows that we're about to jump into are designed to help you see where your current tools fit in, where you might benefit from new solutions, or both. So before we dive in, I want to acknowledge that everyone here on the call may be at different stages in adopting tools for workforce management. Some of you, we know you're deeply integrated with Spectrum or Vista. Some of you are leveraging Rivet's capabilities to the fullest, and others might be managing labor through spreadsheets or manual processes. No matter where you are, though, understanding how labor workflows align with construction phases can help you streamline operations, improve communication, and maximize both your profitability and your productivity. So let's jump into it. Let's start with the first phase. We're going to start with estimating and bidding. So this is where every project starts. Trish, our program manager in this scenario, let's open a project today and let's call it Summit Tower. You've had your estimating team build out this project and its budget in Accubid. And then what's happening in your ERP?
So currently in the ERP, I have created the job, and now it's time to import the estimate. So I'm importing today from Trimble's Accubid, which is a popular estimating software that's commonly used with Spectrum or Vista ERPs. And I have the option of importing a base contract, or as the project progresses, change orders as well. So I've just synced into Spectrum the estimate from the Summit Tower plumbing job. And what's awesome about this is once I sync it in, I can review this information and I can update it. But the beauty here is that there is a huge time savings where this data only needs to be entered once. So it was entered by our estimator. I've synced it into the system. When I hit update, it's going to populate the phases on this job. So that's going to save me an awful lot of time. I don't have to rekey that information.
Thanks, Trish.
You're welcome.
So, Cedric, we've got the job budget, and now we need to do a labor forecast. If you're a Rivet user, you can make a direct sync to that pursuit job in Spectrum or Vista. Specifically, you can sync people, certifications, projects, opportunities, and WIP data into Rivet. And we can help you with that during onboarding. So what would it look like to forecast labor needs before submitting your bid?
That's a great question. And yes, you're absolutely right. In Rivet, the information just becomes readily available so that we make this process as easy as possible. So when it comes time to building out a labor plan for a potential project or something that maybe is in our backlog, it's as simple as having a couple data points: start date, end date, and rough amount of hours that you're budgeting for the project. All you simply need to do is you select your project, you hit build forecast, and Rivet provides some industry standard examples or curves, in addition to the ability to simply evenly spread out your labor from start to finish if you want to allocate your labor in a straight line, or if you're taking the effort to build out a labor plan outside, you can go ahead and import certain labor plans in Rivet as well. But once you do so, you can see in this project, for example, our Summit Tower portion, our plumbing scope here, has a start date of 7/14 and an end date of 10/10 and 2,000 hours budgeted for this project. If we go ahead and select our mechanical curve, all you need to do is select your curve and hit submit, confirm those changes, and Rivet is going to go ahead and allocate the needed headcount across the job from start to finish. Simply publish and you're ready to go.
Nice. Thank you, guys. So let's go from estimating to pre-con and award. And this is where the project's then officially awarded. We're ready to finalize the scope and the schedule of the job. We're going to onboard employees. We're going to finalize our labor plan here. So Trish, we know the job is set up in Spectrum or Vista. And after that, you recommend using HR management to onboard employees. Can you tell us about that?
I absolutely can. So as a person that's responsible for hiring for this new project, my job is made a lot easier by TC1's human resource management. And that enables me to electronically assign new hires their onboarding documentation. That ensures that I receive what I need to bring them on board. And as you see right in front of you, I have sent out invitations to these employees. I can take a look and see where they are in the process. And if I need to send an email reminder or I need to get a hold of them and help them, I can do that. So once I receive the new hire documents, the new hire is then pushed into Spectrum, and he or she is then available. So the project manager or the scheduler working in Rivet has access to get them assigned and scheduled on the job.
Thanks, Trish. And so, Cedric, schedules have shifted a bit on the project. Show us how that pursuit labor plan becomes an awarded plan and how to finalize the forecast, begin resource planning as a project manager. What would you change in Rivet to finalize that labor plan? Oh, you're muted.
Once the project is awarded, it's as simple as changing the status to in progress. And once in progress, you can go ahead and make a final adjustments if needed to match the schedule adjustments that you just noticed. So within Rivet, once your forecast is built, you end up having a home page where you can manage your job. Within your job, you are then able to easily make fine-tune adjustments, whether it's rebuilding the forecast if the adjustment was major, whether it's simply shifting over the forecast by a week or two, or making fine-tuned day-to-day or week-to-week adjustments on the headcount needed across your project. Once you make those adjustments, your plan will adjust accordingly and will inform the rest of your team as to how we're going to staff that project going forward.
Nice. Thank you both. So if you're a contractor not using any of these tools, this phase might involve manual calculations or spreadsheets, but the goal is the same, getting the right people lined up for the job. So let's move from pre-con to mobilization. We've got the job set up. Go team. Now we're going to mobilize the field. And a lot of this phase is happening in Rivet, where the day-to-day labor management can happen as a project team. So Cedric, can you walk us through scheduling crews to the labor plan to create your job roster, but also can you ensure their safety trainings and qualifications are there while doing it, and will you dispatch their assignments to the field?
Ooh, quite the task, but with Rivet, it's made easy. So thank you, Alison. Exactly. Once the labor plan is created, the first step is that we get the headcount of the number of people we're going to need in order to execute this project. But quickly, those people turn into what type of people we need, which informs the rest of our team on how we're going to staff that project. So we can go ahead and find people based on a lot of different criteria, whether it's upcoming availability, specific needs or attributes, maybe certifications that are required for that project. Once we go ahead and staff the project, you'll see that we actually have dedicated schedules for each of our projects so that we can go ahead and analyze. Let me go to my Summit Tower job right here. We can go ahead and analyze the rosters that we've created on our jobs. So you can immediately identify the roster we have on this job. Here's our foreman, our plumbing foreman, the journey worker foreman, and our apprentice foremen that we've assigned to this project over time to match the plan that we had created ahead of time. Now, if it comes down to this, we can go ahead and select any of our workers to make sure they also match the criteria that we're going to need on a project. Every worker is equipped with a baseball card, and that baseball card stores important information, including specific tags and certifications and details about those workers, and make sure that the people that you're assigning to the job indeed have the qualifications that are needed for the project. Now, let's go ahead and add a person upcoming and dispatch those assignments. Rivet has a simple schedule builder where you can go ahead and find workers that are becoming available and apply those filters to identify people with specific attributes. Once you select your person, you simply hit continue building and confirm the change and the date range that you want to send that worker. When you schedule that worker, you can simply dispatch those assignments to the field, whether it's the worker directly, Here you go, John Doe. Here's your upcoming assignments about where you're going and when, even a hyperlinked address to provide instructions on how to get to the job site, and any other configurable details that you need that will be important during that assignment. You can also notify the field leaders or project stakeholders that are also impacted by this change, so that the field leader that's receiving John Doe on the project is informed, but also if John Doe is being pulled off of a different project, they're informed that they're losing a worker as well.
Awesome, thank you. So we've got Cedric and Rivet covering us on the labor management side, but then we've got Trish and Traqspera covering us on the tracking and payroll side. So Trish, how are supervisors or crew members using Traqspera at this stage to record individual or crew hours?
Well, that's really a great question. And here, what you're seeing right in front of you is my my iPhone. So I am, sorry about that. Okay, so I am logged in to Traqspera. And just a couple of quick notes here. I can use this both on web-based and mobile, whichever. I actually love using my phone. The other thing too is it's very easy to use. So you can see that I've got information on my work, field tools, and if I have enough security, I've got admin tools too. But let's go ahead and we're going to talk about entering a timesheet. So if I go down here to entering the timesheet, I can enter it individually. So if each employee is entering their time individually, they can do that, or they can do crew-based time. So as a project manager here, I can go in and I can start adding time for my crew. So when I click on view the time card, you can see that I've already got it started here. Notice how up at the front, up at the top here, I've got my crew members. I can change these, so I can add crew members or I can delete one if they're not going to be there that week. Additionally, I've got the equipment built out that I'm going to be using. So here I've added some labor entries. If you look down along the bottom here, you can add a single entry, so that is person by person, or you can add for the crew. And when we add for the crew, I can come in here, I can select the job, and let's see if I can find our job here. Go ahead and grab that and the phase. And I can either put start and end time, I can clock in and out. I can enter in the regular time if I want. So let's say I want to put in 10 hours, and this is going to be for the entire crew. I can also put travel time, per diem, and any comments. So the thing that's great about this is, even though I'm adding 10 hours of regular time, the back office doesn't have to worry about this because there are no mistakes that can't be fixed. So let's say the foreman or the project manager's entering in 10 hours. Back in Traqspera, in the when the labor flows back in there, we have auto overtime, and auto overtime is going to make sure that the entries are correct. So I can come in, I can add for the crew, confirm it, and then I can move on to equipment if I so chose. I can also make changes. So for instance, maybe this person here, Greg, was out for a doctor's appointment, so he wasn't here for 10 hours. Simply click edit. I could change the phase too if I wanted to. I can come in and I can say, well, he was here for 4 hours. So once this is all finished, the project manager or the supervisor, you've got two approvers. They are then going to approve the time. Someone from the back office likely will take it from there, sync it right into Spectrum, and then process payroll.
Awesome. Thank you both. So now we've got time entered, we've got schedules assigned. We're starting to see the power of the integrations here too. We've got the entries approved from the field, so that's automatically synced with Spectrum or Vista. That's giving us accurate real-time payroll and job cost tracking. And this is what leads to that real-time labor utilization in Rivet as well. So we're going to start to see that in the next phase. Let's go to execution and monitoring. So now on the project, the work is underway. Crews are performing field work according to the plan and the schedule. Any schedule updates, change orders, or impacts are being communicated and tracked. Without integrated tools, this phase can be really challenging, often involving manual time tracking and coordination. So Trish, what's going on in Spectrum that you can tell us about?
All right. So Spectrum or Vista users can track their labor hours, their costs, and their productivity directly in their ERP. And what that is doing is that's ensuring alignment with the original estimate and budget. So I can start here and I can look at the job analysis screen here in Spectrum. I can look right here at eye level and I can see my job to date costs and my hours. But let's say I want to drill in deeper. So I can click on costs and hours, and I'm taken out here to my cost activity. I can arrange this screen in any way that makes sense to me, but I am very conscious of the labor on this particular project. So I've clicked into a phase, our plumbing phase, and I've highlighted this. So I can see that I've about 71% complete, but I want to look deeper into this. So I can click on the history button and I can actually see each person's time card. So I can click in here and hit time card and take a look directly at the time card. Additionally, what I can do is I can have this arranged to where I'm seeing my job to date hours, but I'm going to compare them to my projected hours, to my estimated hours. So I can always see where I am in the project.
Thank you. And so Cedric, like I said, this is where the power of that integration is really going to show in Rivet. Can you show us what that real-time labor utilization is going to look like on the Summit Tower project labor plan?
Absolutely. So syncing with Spectrum or Vista, what we're able to provide is visibility into how our project is performing specifically with our labor. So here we are on the Summit Tower project, and we're a few weeks into this project represented by this orange line running vertically. At the top of this screen, we get a summary report of what we were planning on using and what we had actually used coming out of Spectrum. We started with a 2,000 hour budget on this project. To date, we had planned to use 592 hours. Spectrum said we had used 592 hours. So in this particular case, we're spot on and we're looking pretty. And we're also at the peak of our project, preparing to ramp down. So it looks like this project's going to go pretty flawlessly. What we're also able to see is a quick snapshot of the hours to completion. Because we're on track with the hours that we've used, the hours to completion also match. But this is where we can go ahead and get ahead of any issues if they do arise. For example, let's just say what had happened originally actually looked something more like this. The project started off really nicely, but then all of a sudden there was a major delay. So our forecast actually told us we were only going to need one person for the next 3 weeks before work was going to pick back up. So Rivet enables you to adjust your plan very quickly and identify how that's going to impact your plan going forward. Our peak originally was going to be 7 workers, and we can see the new forecast is going to push up to 10 workers. If we didn't have 10 people readily available in the coming weeks because we weren't planning on it, what are we going to do? How are we going to mitigate this risk on this project? Are we going to be stuck paying overtime? Are we going to stuck having to add more people to this project? This is where margins get broken and why labor continues to be the biggest risk on our projects. But if we can see it and we can plan it, we can execute upon it. And this is where we can at any point identify that delta between what is our accounting forecasting telling us and what is our operations forecasting telling us when they're planning the labor that they're going to need. So we can make those adjustments in real time. And when we make those adjustments in real time and identify the labor that we're going to need, that informs all of the other parties that are impacted. That ripple effect that you feel through our superintendents who are responsible for staffing the projects, to the foremen who are responsible for executing the projects, to the project managers who are responsible for executing the budget on that project, and everywhere in between. And how do they communicate those changes to the other parties on that project? And if anything, now you have a historical record of those adjustments and perhaps maybe a little bit of proof or support in negotiation on a change order.
Nice. Yeah. And Trish, let's assume this did play out this way. Is there a change that you need to make on your side?
Actually, yes. So after reviewing Rivet, we've realized that a change order needs to happen, and that is because of the delays on the project. So what I'm doing here in Spectrum is I am creating a change request. So I've come in here and I've stated that this is due to project delays. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to choose whatever phase it is that is problematic. And I can enter quantities or hours. I'm going to go ahead and enter some hours here. Say we are assuming we may be overrunning by about 130 hours. I can also put my estimate in there. So I'll go ahead and do that. And if I had a subcontractor on the job as well, I can continue this line out and create that for a subcontractor. So this is the labor. Notice how when I go to the next line, it's going to populate markups, add-ons, and any fees for this change order. I can come in here and change that. If I wanted to say, really, I want to mark up my labor by 10%, something like that. Any add-ons. So if I had bonding or overhead that I needed to add, I could adjust that. Then I'm going to go into billing and I'm going to put how much we're going to bill. So currently, it's being calculated as about $18,000. Again, I can change that if I choose. I'm not going to. Everything looks good to me. If I wanted to, I could add notes and I can come in here and I can do dates as well. Something like this. And I can even give a due date for the customer. So if this was going out to the customer, I can say, you know what, let's have this back by about, in about 2 weeks, because I'm not going to hold out the costs for that long. I can even request additional days. Say we needed a couple of additional days. And that's about it. I would hit save and I would send over the form to my customer.
Thank you. Okay, so we made it through estimating, recon, mobilization, execution. We're in closeout and we're wrapping up the project. We're going to demobilize the crews. We're going to finish our punch list. We're going to finalize our labor data, and tools like Rivet and Spectrum and Vista are going to make that easier to create our closeout reports, to review our labor performance, to apply those lessons to future planning. So if you're still doing this manually, it's a critical but often slow step that directly impacts how well you forecast and manage risk next time. No matter where you start or which tools you use, the key is knowing how each phase connects. So integrating your estimating, your workforce, and your ERP systems helps you work more efficiently, reduce your risk, and protect your margins. Trish, can you show us the closeout punch list in Project Site?
Absolutely. Just a moment here. All right. So as the program manager, I am working in Project Site right now, and you can see that there have been a few punch list items that we have created. So once I've created a punch list item, I can actually assign it to an employee right here. I can also say, is it, what is the importance? When is it due by? Once I've finished that, I can actually create a form here that I can email out to either whoever was assigned, to my customer, whatever I'd like, ensuring that we've got this project completed to the customer's specifications and satisfaction.
Awesome. And then Cedric, can you tell us about the importance of a labor exit strategy and the impact that it has on the project's profitability?
You got it. In fact, this is one of my favorite things to talk about at Rivet. And once again, when we're synced with Spectrum and pulling in information to show real-time visibility into how our project is performing, it gives us the data we need in order to make an informed decision and a confident one in that as well. And I've worked with hundreds of contractors, and it's so clear that having a plan and an exit strategy is crucial for the profitability of your projects. In this project, for example, here we are, that orange line once again representing today. We are at the peak of our project. We're at the peak of our productivity. We are going to begin ramping down. But what I hear all too often is if I don't have this visibility into here, what naturally happens, because it feels right. As a foreman in the field, it feels right that I'm highly productive and I see this punch list of items that we're going to just keep it going. We're highly productive. So I'm going to go ahead and request that we maintain our people. And I'm going to say we need 7 people next week and 7 people the following week as well. Well, then when we get to that week on the 26th, they're going to request it one more time. All of a sudden, 3 weeks have gone by, and we have now burned in this area that much extra margin in our project, forcing us to ramp down our labor that much faster in order to prepare them for their next project. This right here, this is what we call the walking the plank that continues to eat into our margins and erode our profits. This right here, this is that inflection point that we live and die by with our project plans. When we go ahead and do this, if we were to do that and we hit publish, what's so great about this is this will inform all of our teams that there's a delta between what was planned and how many people we need to hold all teams accountable to this. Do we indeed actually need this? Because we are going 240 hours over allocated on our budget now on this project. If we are, at least it now prompts us with the question, well, why? Let's ask the foreman a little bit deeper. Why do we need these extra people on this project at this point in time? Because if we keep them on, what are the ripple effects going forward? Getting them ready for their next projects. And as we build these plans out and we make these fine-tune adjustments, this then gives us an entire global view of all of our peaks and valleys across our entire business, showcasing our capacity versus what we have upcoming in the future, informing all parties, whether that's our pre-construction team as to where we need to be more aggressive, whether it's our operations team identifying where maybe we've overcommitted labor or we need to go recruit more effectively. It all is tied together, keeping us all consolidated, executing on our biggest and most important asset being our labor.
Thank you. All right, well, that wraps up the phases. And before we jump into questions, I recognize that we have some Rivet users on the call. A few contractors in the audience that are taking advantage of both Trimble and Rivet and the integration between the two. So I wanted to make sure we go a level deeper and give some advanced insights for those folks. So on the screen here, this is a diagram showing the integration that many of those groups have established. So for the data source in this case, we're talking about the ERP Vista or Spectrum, and the integration data types that were synced from that source of truth, people, certs, projects, with, and opportunities, so that those are pushed into workforce management, into Rivet. So my question to Trish and Cedric, what advice do you have for contractors already leveraging the synced integration? And Trish has lost audio, so let's go ahead and pass that to Cedric.
You got it. Whether it's somebody in the tool already or someone who's new to seeing this for the first time, I think for the years of experience I've had working with contractors, it's so important to discuss that we're not alone. This is an industry problem when it comes to our labor, because traditionally it's been managed in fragmented spreadsheets and siloed teams and back and forth communication and countless meetings. That having this visibility is what solves that. And I hear all too often, I have a feeling that we could be doing better. We don't know how, but it's because there's never been a better way. There's never been a tool that was designed or built in order to sustain that entire massive operation and process. So the first step would be just like, know you're not alone. Everybody's going through it. And if you are considering then looking at a technology to manage these processes, it's so key and crucial, because this isn't just a simple feature or module that you're going to incorporate into your business. It's an entire new business practice. So finding the right partner who's going to work with you strategically to identify like what are your current states as a business, what are your end state goals, and what are the process changes that are going to be taking place, and how do we design around that? And taking the time to identify that so we can build a plan and execute upon it and make sure that the training and every little setup is done appropriately for everybody. Those are the key pillars of success when it comes to bringing on a business practice like this and enhancing it. I think that's probably one of the bigger things I would focus on.
Thanks. And Trish, welcome back. Any advice?
Thank you. Yes. So in construction, profit margins are tight. I've been on the customer side as well and experienced this. And without proper monitoring and management, costs can quickly multiply, with labor being at particular risk. So as you saw earlier, it's estimated that labor accounts for 30 to 50% or more of a project's total budget. And according to project manager expert Harold Kersner, 2017, he says labor efficiency does not occur automatically. Thus, labor management is of vital importance to project management. And I couldn't agree more with that.
Thank you. All right, well, let's move into Q&A. I also want to point out we've got a feature here in the Teams, in Microsoft Teams, to do Q&A. If you want to add a question, feel free. While we do that, I'll give a quick overview of what's on the screen here. There was a ton of information. We went through 5 phases of a construction project end to end. We talked about goals related to labor for each one. We talked about a variety of software used. We talked about key activities related to labor, and many different roles were involved. So we did map that out for you all concisely. If you want a download of that, go ahead and grab that here. We can also send it to you afterward, but we wanted to give that to you as a free resource for anyone who's interested. And I'll check and see if we've got any questions here. All right, guys. If a project requires apprentice ratios, and Cedric, why don't you pull up a labor plan for this one, to journeyman, can this be tracked?
Yes, absolutely. So let me go back to, make sure I pull up Summit Tower here again. So when from the very beginning, if you want to set parameters around your project, let me go ahead and let's go back to the home page here. When I'm building up my job plan, this is where I'm setting up that labor plan. You can go ahead and set specific parameters for this project that's going to help provide recommendations for the type of labor you're going to need on this project. So if you have specific requirements behind the ratio blend between the journey workers and apprentices, you can set that 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio, in addition to a supervision limit as well. And when you do that, Rivet's going to give you essentially like guidelines as to what to follow when developing your plan. And then as you are building your plan or as you are staffing your project, Rivet then also allows you to monitor your projects and identify the workforce breakdown across each project. So you can see what the ratio blend of the different type of employees are across every single project.
Thank you. And how often do you encounter teams making labor decisions based on outdated or incomplete information?
Would you like me to take that question?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, so often. So in my job, helping others to make a good decision on selecting software, we see that across the board. Almost, I would say that most of the companies that I work with are not getting that up-to-date information, and thus their projects are suffering for it.
I'd like to add too, working with contractors, and once we get into implementation, we start to really have some serious discussions on how decisions are made, specifically around labor. And to no one's fault, I mean, I think everyone's doing absolutely the best they can, and there's great intentions behind it, and they do a really good job. I mean, look all around us, there's incredible things that are being built every single day, and that happens. But we see that oftentimes it's done and it's fueled by gut decisions or what's in my head as primal knowledge. And that's what's fueled us. And it gets us so far. But there's so much that's we can't control in this world of construction that if we had visibility and a plan that we could work towards and collaboratively as a team between our field and our office and be all on the same page, that's what allows us to make the best decision for the overall health and for all of our people too, because the people that we're scheduling, they're also impacted by it. So I think everyone's doing the best they can, but technologies like this, and when you can get data synced between different systems, provide that visibility, that's what gives everyone the power to make the best decision possible.
In your experience, which part of the workflow do contractors struggle with most?
You want me to go first, Trish?
Yeah, you go first because I'm thinking about it.
I think it's just once overcoming that initial fear. It's the initial fear of the change effort that is going to go into this and all the people that are going to be impacted. I've got project managers and superintendents and general superintendents and foremen and operation leadership and people. There's there's so much behavioral change that to a certain degree needs to be required, but that's when I went back to finding that right tech partner. If you can establish those appropriate processes and clearly identify those initial current states as a business and what are our end state goals and how are we going to work collaboratively to develop this new process and business practice and communicate that from top down, that's what's going to allow us to do it. And once we get through that and we overcome that first initial fear, the struggle isn't there so much because they're all experts in it. They know it. Now it just, the tool makes it so much easier. These tools make it so much easier to do it. Now it's no longer a struggle. So I think that's the biggest piece, is the very upfront, like initial fear.
Yeah, and it is finding the right technology so you can wrap your arms around some of these very complex processes.
Thank you. Okay, looks like I've got one more. When should you start creating a labor forecast? Before submitting a bid or after the award?
I think before, because so before, and then you're going to adjust it after the award as changes are made. But before, it gives visibility for multiple facets of your business as to what is happening. So if we've got a whole backlog of work, whether it's a soft backlog or a confident backlog of work, our operations teams, I've seen so many teams that just are surprised last minute by a new project they need to go staff for. And like, whoa, we had no idea this was going to happen. Now I need to go find 26 people to go and staff this project. But if we even put in a rough idea of it, even if that 26 is actually 22 or 31, at least our teams now have visibility into seeing what's potentially coming down the pipeline so we can begin planning for it, recruiting for it, identifying which people are going to be available within our workforce, or like who are the good fits, whether it's a skill set. We've got businesses who have locations all across the country. So like if like proximity to a job site comes a factor into staffing a project, just having that information as soon as possible gives you a head start and a competitive advantage.
Thank
I
you.
would absolutely agree with that.
Thank you both. All right, Austin, move us to the next slide. Trish and Cedric, thank you so much for sharing these workflows and tips. And a huge thank you to everyone who joined us today. We're hoping you walked away with some real practical ideas that you can take back to your own businesses. If you're interested in learning more about Trimble or Rivet, or you have questions about what you saw, you want to go deeper with us with either sales or account management, if you're one of our customers on either side, feel free to click on the links here, reach out to us. We would love to chat with you. So thanks again for being here, everyone, and take care. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.